That is awesome. Welcome back to the AC Unit channel, and today we will be doing our album review for Cordae's From a Bird's Eye View. This released on January 14th, 2022. This is Cordae's second studio album, and it consists of 14 tracks durating over 41 minutes, and it includes 9 total features. So Aaron, kind of just start by giving your experience with Cordae before this album.
All right, so yeah, before this album, I've only heard a few songs from Cordae, these primarily being singles from The Lost Boy and some of his work when he was still a part of YBN, like Kung Fu, his My Name Is remix, and his 1985 remix. I think it's important to note that we both haven't listened to The Lost Boy yet, which I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have affected our opinion for the album anyways, like it did for others. And just by the songs I've heard, I knew the kid had talent. It was just a matter of putting out that one project, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of spoke for me there. Really only heard a few songs from him in the past. Like you said, we both haven't listened to The Lost Boy. That's something we're going to be doing sooner than later. But yeah, I mean, definitely has a lot of talent. You can see it. A lot of his freestyles that I've seen on YouTube, it definitely expresses all the talent he has. So definitely curious to go back and look at The Lost Boy for sure.
All right, so yeah, the first category we have for the album review, we have the rollout and the singles. Now, you talk about this first, and I'll go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, so before I had no clue what the rollout was. I kind of just blindly listened to the album. But yeah, Super and Sinister were the rollout songs, correct?
Also, Gifted was apparently a rollout song.
Really?
But since it's part of the bonus tracks, I mean, I don't think he meant to include it in the album, but it's a bonus song.
Oh, and technically Parables as well, but you get the remix here on the album with Eminem.
Yeah.
He did release Parables. But yeah, I personally rated this as an average rollout.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard either of these songs or any of the songs before the release, so I didn't really get a rollout feel like a lot of people do when they're getting a rollout for an album. So that's kind of what led me to ranking the rollout average.
Yeah, no, same here. I mean, there's really no other rank you can kind of give it than average. I mean, he releases a few singles, and there was no conceptual rollout since this technically wasn't a concept album. It was mainly just singles in general. And yeah, I also haven't heard any of the other singles like Gifted and Sinister before the album came out. So, I mean, there's really nothing else to talk about here. You drop singles, and that's the most average thing you can do. So that's why my ranking's average as well for the rollout.
Yeah, so we both agree that for rollout, average is our consensus ranking there. On to the second category, concept. I really thought this was probably the weak point of the album. I had this as underwhelming, personally.
Yep, and same here. And I'll kind of give my reasoning on why. I was very disappointed that this wasn't a concept album, like the few first tracks implied it would be. And I also kind of want to mention Shiloh's interlude, how it was literally an interlude to a non-existing concept album. It was kind of just put in there because, why not? This album acts more as a playlist, a common theme that Drake would kind of take up for his most recent albums. Yeah, the album acts more as a victory lap as well. That's kind of like the concept in a manner. I mean, it's a bunch of hype tracks, a bunch of braggadocious tracks, and I hope Cordae doesn't really stick to these kinds of albums because I think he has potential to drop a top-tier concept album with the lyrical ability he has, and I'll kind of get more into his lyrics later, but yeah, you can go ahead and explain why you gave it underwhelming.
Yeah, you're kind of hitting my points pretty well. I wrote down that the concept kind of faded away as the album progressed. You got a track like Jean-Michel, which is a perfect concept song for an album. One of my favorite songs on the entire album. But there really wasn't a clear concept as the album went on.
Yeah.
In my eyes, personally. So that's what led me to the underwhelming rating. So yeah, we'll go ahead and put underwhelming in as our ranking for concept. And now on to the third category, vocal performance. This was kind of a blank for me personally before listening because I haven't really heard what he can do vocally. I was very surprised and impressed with what he could do vocally on a lot of these tracks. So I rank this as great.
Yeah, and if you want to explain why you did so, go ahead.
Yes, I mean, like I said, I was very surprised when I first heard the vocals. Songs like Chronicles, and I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but Chronicles was really a song that stood out to me vocally. That really impressed me a lot. And I thought this was one of the better elements in his voice, and it shows how versatile his voice really is. So that's kind of what led to the great for vocal.
Definitely, yeah. And I had the same ranking. I had great for his vocals, and I was very shocked to hear this man singing on some tracks. From the songs I've heard before, I didn't really hear him singing. I was pretty impressed with like tracks like Chronicles, Gifted, and Want for Me.
Yeah,
Which
one for me. Damn it.
that's one of your favorites, and you forgot it.
Yeah.
How dare you? But yeah, like they showcase his vocals and how they are above average of your typical rapper. He knows when to use his vocals. That's the best part. He doesn't overdo it. He doesn't like make a whole album with his above average vocals, because that would just kind of be like watching paint dry at some point. He has a satisfaction to his voice. That's another note I had. I love listening to him spit on most songs. So hearing him use like more of a singing voice on certain tracks was definitely a joy to see. Yeah, with all this being said, the vocals aren't his main focus of his, so it's tough to rank it, but my ranking's great.
Yeah, so we're kind of 3 for 3 on our group rankings there. So go ahead and put in great for vocal performance. On to the fourth category now, lyrics. Nothing really stood out to me personally here to where I could rank it higher up or lower up, so I kind of put it in the middle at average here. And I'll go ahead and tell you why. I thought he had a few heartfelt and meaningful lyrics in a few of his songs. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of the lyrics were kind of out of context. Obviously, you have certain lines in certain songs that everyone knows by now.
And I'm going to mention them here in a second, so
Yeah.
I mean...
I know you were probably ready to do that, and you have a whole list lined up there. But yeah, just kind of touching on the lyrics, I think average is a fair ranking overall for the whole album, because I really wasn't too impressed with some of the out-of-context lyrics, but he did have a few meaningful lyrics throughout the album, so average is where I put it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had the same ranking as you. I had him as average, and it's kind of a shocker thinking about some of the things he's said on this album, but there's many reasons. I mean, Cordae lyrically isn't at his best on this album, I don't think. With lines like, "Got this dime piece sucking on my cucumber."
I knew it was coming. That's why I started laughing.
"I go as deep as I can and make her shake like Tourette's." And in terms of getting head, I was the head of my classes.
That one's God tier. Come on. That's God tier.
Dude, it just shows his immature and ignorant side. I mean, he's still obviously growing as an artist, so I can't really shit on him too much for it, but those are just some dog tier bars, in my opinion. He's also insanely cocky, something you've mentioned on this album. I mean, having your sophomore album be like a victory lap after apparently having a pretty good first album, it's kind of like a count your eggs before they hatch situation. I hope it really doesn't screw him over in the end. I don't think it will. I'll get more on that later. But, I mean, yeah, he does have good bars and good verses on this album. I mean, Jean Michel is a whole song. That's an example. And so is Super, even with the more braggadocious bars on there. He really showcases his wordplay on that song. And even with like other songs like Mama's Hood, the second verse, it's an amazing example of storytelling lyricism, very heartfelt. The lyrics have substance, which is a big problem with this album. It's hard to tell if these lyrics will age well, which I'll get more into later, of course, because of the lack of substance, which is something I've kind of noticed with him and something I've picked up on more as I listen to his stuff. It's all about the bragging and being successful. Obviously, he's still young, so he's going to have time to grow and hopefully expand his lyrical content. He has that ability, but he doesn't use it to potential on this album, and that's why my ranking's average.
Yeah, I think a song like Super, I can kind of let it slide for the cocky comments.
Because he has good wordplay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. Like, if you're going to be that cocky, you have to have great wordplay, and he does in that song.
Yeah, and the production on that song is literally amazing.
Yeah,
so,
for
I mean,
sure.
I'm still getting hyped to that song every day
But
at
like,
this rate.
but like, when a lot of your songs are like that, but they aren't as good as Super, like, it kind of gets...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I can let it slide for a song like that, but overall, I mean, a lot of the songs, I wasn't feeling those lyrics at all. So
Definitely, yeah.
So we'll go ahead. You said average, correct? Yep. So average, again, we're 4 for 4 on these. We haven't looked at these, by the way, each other's rankings. So this is all new to us when we're saying it out loud. But Go ahead and put average in for lyrics. On to category number 5 is production. And go ahead and tell us where you put that.
My ranking for production's great. What'd you have it at?
Also great. 5 for 5.
All right, let me explain why. I was debating between great and amazing, but here's my reasoning. The production, it stays safe throughout the whole project. It doesn't really use experimental production or branch out to anything crazy. A lot of the songs have a typical trap style influence.
My bad.
Yeah, just like you guys heard with Super there, like literally a few seconds ago, every beat has like this unique trait, and all the production's pretty memorable on each song. The guitars on tracks like Mama's Hood, Chronicles, to the pianos on Jean-Michel, the choir samples on Super, the synths on the Parable remix, Want For Me, and Champagne Glasses. This album uses a good variety of sounds to spice up the listening experience, and I feel like my standout production for this album is definitely Westlake High. It's definitely one of the best beats. It's in front of songs like Parables and Super, which is pretty big accomplishment for such a short song, you know. I love that sample in the intro, which is something unique to that song itself. And when that piano and choir sample kicks in with the drums, it's literally Kanye-esque, and it's very enjoyable to listen to. I think the only thing holding this back from being amazing is the safeness of all of the production on the album. It doesn't do anything crazy, but stays mainstream. Yes, it sounds above average compared to most mainstream stuff, but I think great's all I can give it.
Yeah.
Took the words out of your mouth, did I?
Literally. Aaron kind of goes into way more detail than I did on this for all the categories, honestly. I kind of keep it short and sweet, but obviously songs like Super and Jean-Michel were two of my favorite songs production-wise.
Yeah, definitely.
And I thought, as a whole, the beats are mixed really well throughout the whole album.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, great, I feel like, is a perfect spot to rank this. I was borderline, like you said, from great to amazing, but I don't think I could have pushed it up to amazing. So, yeah, go ahead and put production in at great. On to category number 6, we have the features, and I ranked this, or rated it as average.
Damn, I did too. Explain why you had an average.
Yeah, so I mean, for, what was it, 9 features we had?
I think so.
I don't feel like a good majority of them were just misses for me.
I agree
I'd probably
completely.
lean to the upper 20% on them being misses. So, I mean, outside of the Her feature, I really enjoyed the Her feature. I thought her voice was amazing. I thought it fit well with Cordae's vocals in that song.
Definitely.
Really well. Outside of her feature, really weren't many standouts. Roddy Ricch was exceptional, I would say.
Yeah.
And maybe, just kidding. Freddie Gibbs' verse was terrible.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for you to say that, man.
But if you include the Stevie Wonder outro, that was obviously good as well. But outside of that, I really wasn't feeling the features. I really thought the big names just didn't perform well, perform like they normally do on features or in their respective tracks. So that's why I ranked it average.
Definitely, man. You touched literally everything I had. I still have a few more things to say, obviously, because for some reason I go in depth. I don't know. I just type it out and it gets really deep. But yeah, I think some of the amazing features on this album: Stevie Wonder with his harmonica solo, Her with her amazing vocals on Chronicles, and Roddy Ricch with his amazing Roddy Ricch.
Waddy Witz. Waddy Witz and Westlake High. And Freddie Gibbs. He thought he was tripping about that.
Now let me list some of my underwhelming features, which is a majority of the features. Freddie Gibbs with what could be his worst verse to date just because of the constipated lines. I've looked more into it. I think that's his worst feature. I hate to admit it because I love Freddie Gibbs.
I feel like that was 25% of his verse, too.
It was. That's a sad thing. And after listening to that song more, his flow at the end of his verse, it feels off key. It feels off like the beat. I kind of just looked into it more. But we have Lil Wayne for spitting the average. It's pretty safe Lil Wayne verse. Lil Durk for doing the same thing on Chronicles. Eminem for doing the same thing on the Parables remix. Gunna for doing the same shit every verse. And Ant Clemens for not adding anything to Gifted. There were a lot more underwhelming features, but the amazing ones really do bring this album up and add so much more to the album than the underwhelming ones do, like bringing it down. I personally think there were 3 amazing features on this album, a lot of underwhelming ones. The only fair rank to give it to me, for me, is average.
I can get down for that. But yeah, average, I think so, the only place to rank this. So go ahead and put average in as our rank for features. And now on to the final category, will it age well and replay value. So Aaron, where did you rank this?
This is my only amazing rank.
Really?
Yeah.
I was really kind of stuck on where to put this, and you might be surprised with where I had this, but I put it as average.
We've been bumping this shit for 2 weeks straight, and you put it average.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You know, I think personally, this album's really starting to regress for me in terms of how I'm listening to it. Outside of Super, Jean-Michel, Chronicles,
You
and C. Carter, and then one for me maybe as well.
You dick ride one for me though, so it's acceptable.
But outside of those 4 or 5 songs, I just don't know if I'll be revisiting the other tracks, probably ever, unless it's to re-listen to it before a new Cordae album in the future.
Really? Interesting.
And I just feel like there's a lot more misses than hits, personally.
I get that.
So in terms of will it age well, I'd say I don't know. I truly don't know because, one, we haven't listened to his last album, so we don't know how well those songs have been. Apparently they've been aging really well because this album is being criticized in comparison to The Lost Boy.
Which, that's not how it should work, in my opinion. You should criticize an album for the music in it, not comparing it to any of the artist's previous works. But some people have been doing that, and that's why it's been getting really negative reviews, but keep going. I interrupted.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, personally, I've kind of noticed I've been falling off on listening to a lot of the songs outside of my top songs. So I think average is the only place I could put it. It's right in the middle because I really don't know how well this is going to age personally. So
I got you, yeah. So I had Amazing. I think it is hard to tell if this will age well. It just depends on if Cordae becomes a flop or not. I personally don't think he will. I think he has too much appeal to the mainstream and to like the old heads, the lyricists. He has that perfect fine line in between. I personally think the album's replay value is just great, man. Like, it's been around a week or two since this dropped, and I don't think a single song I really liked has grew off on me fully. I still listen to the songs that I hold high. I mean, songs like Super, Jean-Michel, and Chronicles are just top-notch songs for me. And even songs that I thought were amazing, like Today, Champagne Glasses, Mama's Hood, there's other ones, obviously. I'm still listening to those songs. I don't think I can see them getting old for me in a while. That's why I had Amazing. I think it's hard to tell right now. It's only been 2 weeks after, but it's always hard to tell when you're trying to guess something, if you're gonna listen to the song in the future or not. It always is really hard to tell. But this is a prediction category, pretty much. I think it will age well.
where did you have Champagne Glasses ranked? Do you remember?
I had number 6.
Okay, so I was gonna say you said it was amazing, and I personally don't agree with that at all.
I think it's great just because of Stevie Wonder and Cordae.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So there's our album review. Before we get into our final thoughts and our overall ranking, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening. It means a lot to us for the short number of viewers that are out there, but we hope to grow over the course of the year and reach anyone out there. Personally, we love doing this, and yeah.
All right, so I do have some final thoughts on the album. Be prepared for an essay, basically. From a bird's eye view by Cordae, it may have been a disappointment to most people. However, I still think, personally, it's a decent album. Constructed more like a playlist than a conceptual album, you'll get amazing banger tracks like Super to amazing lyrically dedicated tracks like Jean-Michel and Mama's Hood. You'll see Cordae experimenting with different flows from his influences, which he wears heavily on his sleeves throughout the album. It's hard to tell where his future will go from here, but I feel this album was the safest step he could have taken for his sophomore album. He experiments with different styles, sounds, and is attempting to find what works best for him. The album has a lot of sonic appeal, as a lot of the production is above average compared to many mainstream hip-hop beats. You'll get a rapper who knows how to flow on these tracks, who may drop a few good lines, maybe a bad line here and there, but overall this album is something I still would suggest listening to. Cordae has talent, and on certain tracks you can hear it. There may be a more mainstream appeal to this album, but it's still an entertaining listen.
You are officially the CEO of Final Thoughts from here on out. I'm never going to give a final thoughts because you just killed that.
Yes, sir.
So, before we end the video, overall rating, I kind of want to hear yours first before I give mine. So, out of 10, what was your overall rating?
Dude, I've had so much trouble ranking this album, man. And with everything I've said, I have to give it, the highest I can give it is a 7 out of 10.
I as well.
Yeah.
Put it as a 7 out of 10. I mean, I debated even dropping it more like the past couple of days because it's regressed for me.
Yeah.
I probably had it as high as 7.3. And we act like our ranking scale is so official and so like detailed. I mean, I'm just kind of throwing a number out there, but it'll be more and more detailed and official when we do more album reviews. But
I mean, yeah, I also kind of want to plug my spreadsheet in the description of every video we have. I rank a lot of albums. I listen to a shit ton of albums. I do rank them. So I feel like my numbers, they aren't coming out of my ass, but sometimes they can be. I mean, for this one, it took a long time to kind of decide, but I think 7 out of 10 is the highest I could give it. It may change in the future. It may drop. It just depends on the replay value, you know?
Yeah, and like Aaron said, we're going to be going through and having an updated spreadsheet for all the album reviews we do. So make sure to check those out and stay on top of those. So, yeah.
All right. Nice clap. We have an outro. Thank you guys for watching our From a Bird's Eye View album review. Do we miss anything? Do you guys have an opinion you'd like to share? Be sure to leave your comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to share our channel, like the video, and subscribe. We're just starting out, so spreading the word of our channel would be greatly appreciated. This is A speaking.
And this is C
Signing off. Where'd you go?
I was just chilling. I was going to pull